Happy Thursday and welcome back to our podcast series entitled Finding God In. And as this week we have had some conversation about finding God in the midst of real life, I want to speak to anyone who might be struggling to be where you are in life. Yesterday we had the conversation about creating a favorable environment in our life. And follow me as I say this. It can be very difficult to want to create a favorable environment for God when you find yourself in an unfavorable environment in life. Let me say that again. We need to create space. We need to create that favorable environment for us to hear God and to be with God and to share our hearts with God. That's what we do. We create a favorable environment where we can experience God. But when you're in a season in life where you're surrounded by an unfavorable environment, boy, we all know it can be difficult to choose in those moments, can it? So if the environment you find yourself either surrounded by or knee-deep in is not favorable for contemplation or rest, if it's not favorable to listen to the Lord, then that's when we need to be even more intentional about choosing to choose our relationship with God. If we're surrounded by other people who are struggling, if we're surrounded by other people who are reacting to that struggle, either with a lot of anxiety or negativity, or maybe they themselves don't want to be where they are, if you find yourself especially in a place where we feel trapped and we don't think we're ever going to get out of that environment, or if you just find yourself worn down with fatigue, then that can really be a struggle, right? So 3 things I want to remind us of. Number 1, what an unfavorable surrounding can often be surrounded with is people who are struggling themselves, or when we feel trapped, or when we are just tired of where we are. When you find yourself surrounded by that environment, it's even more important for us to go against the grain and to stay focused on doing the things that we need to do. Now, for some of us, that might be some really egregious things or some very noticeable things that you can kind of recognize in the surrounding. But even if things are going well in life, this time of year can just feel different. It's busier. The weekends feel different. There's lots more to do, and people are traveling, and people can be a lot busier on the weekends, which brings a lot less rest or recreation, you might say, and that affects us Monday through Friday as much as it does Saturday and Sunday. And I can't tell you how many families and young couples and people that I see at this time of year that even though things are going well, you might say in life, they're just a little off because the environment that they're in is a different rhythm or different environment, or maybe they're just struggling. In those moments, that's when we need to choose the things that are healthy for us. Continuing to make time for God, continuing to do the basic things like Mass and confession, and just continuing to give our hearts to the Lord. So just a word of encouragement today. Wherever you find yourself, God's with you, right? And if we're going to find God in the midst of life, even if you don't like where you are or it's tough being where you are, let's stay focused on being focused. Let's be intentional about being intentional. And let's stay, you might say, engaged with that favorable environment in the midst of our hearts, regardless of where we find ourselves in life. Remember that God is pursuing you. Remember that God is with you. And until our conversation unfolds tomorrow, God bless you.